As usual, we have many learning objectives in this lecture. We want to understand what subculture is and the relationship with the culture, الثقافة الأساسية, to understand nationality as a subculture, to understand religious as a subculture, and to understand the geographic and regional residence as subculture. Also, we need to understand the race or the racial identity, اللي هو الأعراق, the age, the gender, and using of the multiple subculture relationships. Okay, let's start right away with definition. The definition of the subculture, as you see, it is a distinct cultural group that exists as an identifiable segment within a larger and more complex society. قطاع من الكالتشر، قطاع من القطاعات في الكالتشر that has a more distinct characteristics. Each subculture has its own beliefs, its own values, and they set the subculture set the consumers apart from the other members of the same society. قطاع كده بيختلف عن بقية السوسايتي. That doesn't mean that they are not a part of the society. Yes, they are a part of the society, but they possess specific beliefs, specific values. زي ما احنا هنقول بعد كده نتيجة ل ethnic background معين، نتيجة ل age معين، نتيجة ل not age sorry نتيجة ل religion معينة، نتيجة ل هو اتولد في بلد مختلفة مثلا. So they have specific beliefs, specific values, and that separate them from the other members. This is about the definition. Let's move on to this diagram, which depicts the relationship between the culture, the overall culture, and the subculture. This diagram gives you a good visualization of the subculture. We have general US culture, which is dominant among all the members of the US citizens. Okay, and you can see here we have subculture. Subculture, for example, for Hispanics Americans and for Asian Americans, maybe for African Americans or whatever. You can find here the general US culture is shared by both members of the subcultures. And at the same time, they have their own unique characteristics and traits. So in this figure, they present a simple model of the relationship between the two subculture groups, which are classified according to their geographics or regional subcultures as Hispanics and as Asian. So this dominates the relationships between culture, the overall culture, and the subculture. This also an example of the major subculture categories that exist in the United States. Maybe we will discuss some of them in the next slides. For example, we have here categories or subculture according to the nationalities or according to the religion, according to the geographic region, those who lived in the Eastern America, Southern Western America, according to the race, according to the age, according to the gender, even occupation and the social class. Some subculture categories or some subcultures are classified according to these categories. Okay, let's start with the first category, which is the nationality subcultures. For many people, nationality is very important subculture reference or category. It guides what they value and what they buy. And that's why we are studying subcultures because it affects the consumer behavior. For example, for the Hispanic subculture, we have here the Hispanic subculture. It is growing in the United States, and they show some differences from the American culture in general. They like brands and see them as more prestigious, maybe. They tend to be fashion conscious. They are more fashion conscious than their non-Hispanic citizens or peers. They tend to be impulsive and prefer shops at smaller stores. They may be apart or prefer fresh مثلا foods rather than frozen foods. So they show some differences from other Americans. Okay, this is very important to understand the difference between subcultures. Okay, next we see this breakdown of the Hispanic culture. It's just an illustration. 67% of them are from Mexico. It's regarding the country of origin, from where the Hispanics are coming from, living in the United States. Many of them are coming from Mexico, Cuba, Puerto Rico, whatever. This is just for illustration. Let's move to the religious subculture. We take one of the nationality. Now we take the category of the religious subculture. Religion is very important subculture. We think about the rituals that are performed in these subcultures. تخيلوا كده الطقوس اللي بتتعمل في الأعياد مثلا في الإسلام وحتى في المسيحية وin other and in other religions. So we have rituals, okay, because many countries are very large, مثلا the United States and the Europe, you can find a variety of religious subcultures. And the member of these groups or these religious groups are likely to make purchases related to their identity. يعني احنا مثلا كمسلمين as Muslims we buy products that reflect our identity, our Muslim identity in food, in clothes, يعني in many things. يعني sometimes the products we buy reflecting our identity, reflecting our religious, okay? So we say here that consumer behavior symbolically and ritualistically related to rituals associated with the celebration of religious holiday, the food we make and rituals we are doing in our special occasions. It reflects our religious, okay, and it reflects our identity. Also another category which is the regional, where you are located. احنا اخذنا من الكاتيجوريز اخذنا الناشوناليتي واخذنا religious. Now it is the regional subculture. Sometimes يعني مثلا Europe مثلا large continent كتيرة جدا كبيرة جدا. We can find many يعني in different يعني مثلا Eastern Europe is different than Western Europe. Okay, their preferences are different. هنا كاتب لك بعض الأمثلة يقول لك الوestern have a mug of black coffee, but Eastern they have a cup of coffee with milk and sugar. White bread is preferred in the South and Midwest. Rye and whole meat are preferred on the East and West Coast, or whatever. This is طبعا in America. حتى هتلاقي في البلاد مثلا في مصر يقول لك في الاماكن اللي هو الناس اللي عايشين في الدلتا غير الناس اللي عايشين في الصعيد غير الناس اللي عايشين على البحر غير الناس اللي عايشين في الصحراء. They all have different subcultures. They eat different. They speak even different slang than other members. So this is regional subcultures. Okay. Also we have some racial subcultures متعلقة بقى بالأعراق. يعني مثلا الافريكان امريكانز، الامريكانز اللي جايين من يوروب، اللي جايين من افريكا، اللي جايين. So these are also reflects some subcultures. يعني مثلا the African Americans representing 13% of the US population, and the purchasing power for this subculture is more than $800 billion. So it's very important for the marketeers to recognize such increasing purchasing power for certain products. Okay. Um, this is another category. Okay. Let's move on to this is also related to the African American and how it reflects a unique subculture. Okay, the Asian American. Okay, the Asian American is a challenge for marketeers because it is so diverse. Okay, and they speak so many languages. Okay, you might find Chinese, Filipino, Indian, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese. So they are very diverse. It's hard to determine whether to run an ad to their to this target population or this target subculture in their native language or in English, because they speak many languages. So it's hard to detect, okay, for this Asian American. Okay, let's move to the age subculture. احنا قلنا كم واحدة كده؟ How many؟ قلنا nationality، قلنا religious، قلنا racial، قلنا regional. دلوقتي بنقول age subcultures. We can divide the population into groups depending on the year they were born. تمام. There are many differences between these age subcultures. يعني قسمناهم كده أو تقسموا according to age groups, and every age group or age subculture is different. Okay. عندنا generation Y, generation X, baby boomers and seniors. كل واحدة فيهم لها characteristics معينة. For example, generation Y. Generation Y, those are born from the 77 to 94. ده الأوقع، ده دايما اللي بيتقال على generation Y. طب مالهم generation Y؟ Those generation always prefer to watch TV, and they recently shifted to the internet. They are less likely to read newspaper مثلا. They use text messages and spend lots of time all the time on the online social network. This is generation Y. على خلافهم مثلا generation X. Generation X are from 65 to 79. These are older. They are careful to work at jobs they like, regardless مثلا of their salary. They tend to work to live rather than baby boomers. Baby boomers هنتكلم عليهم في الخطوة الجاية. ما هواش they are not into more electronics like generation Y مثلا. طيب, what about baby boomers? Baby boomers from 46 to 64. Okay, let's just give. Baby boomers have a lot of purchasing power because their size of their likely to purchase for themselves, for their homes. So they have extra, and they have prosperity to purchase for themselves. Okay, all these are just information. Maybe يعني the important thing to know that the difference is that we can make subcultures, or we can make groups according to age. To generation X, generation Y, baby boomers, maybe older customers, and maybe more كمان for a category like age. Okay, طيب. Understanding gender as a subculture. understanding gender as a subculture, another category to make a subculture, which is playing a very important role in marketing issues. So men and women are reflecting different viewpoints in advertisements. تمام. في some products are more focused on gender. يعني مثلا الكوزماتكس والمويسترايزرز والهير كير برودكتس والكونسيومر كير برودكتس are more focused on women. Okay, it's only in the past few years the men increased their purchases of these cosmetics. Okay, so they are concerned with women in particular. Okay, so gender is a very important category for doing subculture or categorizing subcultures. Also, working women are important consumer and comprise about 60% of the American women. Okay, um, regardless what they are doing, they are working at home or planning to work or just job working or a career oriented working, they must يعني be the focus of many marketeers. You might feel that women purchase electronics. This is a figure that provide or illustrate that women are more interested in buying electronics. You might feel that women purchase electronic a bit less enthusiastic than men, but this figure shows different. Actually, they are very enthusiastic about purchasing DVD players, digital cameras, digital camcorders. These just illustrations, as I said before. Okay, subculture is very important. It's very important for marketeers to realize that individuals can belong to several of the subcultures. يعني مش حاجة كده مش mutually exclusive. Okay, they are jointly influence consumer behavior. They are يعني مثلا I am Muslim and I am a woman and I مثلا related to several racial background or ethnic background. So I am related to several subcultures. Um, so it's not mutually exclusive. ما هياش متباعدة عن بعض. They are interrelated. That's why we call it subcultural interaction. And that's it for our lecture. It's very, I read many of these slides in our lecture, and you can find it like advertisements and discussion questions. You can refer to it in the original PowerPoint on our LMS. It's very easy. It's very important to know the definitions and the different categories of subculture, and that's what you really need to know from this lecture. Thank you very much for listening, and meet you again in another lecture. Thank you very much.